recording again?
Yeah.
You already made a video this week.
I know, I'm trying to do like a couple of weeks, 2 or 3.
Oh, okay. What are you talking about tonight?
Best team in the NFL, 49ers.
49ers?
Yeah.
Are you going to explain why we lost the Super Bowl this past year?
Oh my gosh, babe, we have talked
My bad.
about, oh my gosh. All right, welcome back everybody to the Seth Floyd Show. This is episode 2, brought to you live from my bedroom, which is a miracle. Almost got kicked out and moved to the garage where it's 100 degrees and 100% humidity. So for my health, I'm grateful that my wife didn't give me the boot, that she's letting me set up shop in here once again. Okay, the more likes and subscribes I get from you guys, probably the more willing she'll let me keep doing this. Tonight, we are talking about Brandon Aiyuk. I'm going to tell you exactly how that situation is going to play out. Before I do, as I mentioned before, please like and subscribe. Like this video, subscribe to the page. You can help me fulfill my dream of just making content and making a living off of making content on YouTube. We're a long ways away. That's all right, though. I'm going to enjoy the journey. That's what this is all about, okay? As I said, tonight, I'm going to tell you exactly what's going to happen with the Brandon Aiyuk situation. It's one of the most anticipated situations of the offseason, if we're being honest. The only thing we might be anticipating more is the release of Stranger Things Season 5, which, one of the greatest shows ever, guys. But are we kidding? Are you kidding me that you made Season 4, which was an all-time season for all television shows? You made it in 2022, and now it's looking like 3 years later in 2025, you're going to release Season 5, the final season. Driving me crazy. Can't get enough Stranger Things content. If you want to talk to me about Stranger Things, throw it in the comments. Maybe I'll make a separate channel just talking about Stranger Things because I got a lot of opinions. I got a lot of theories. But that's not what this channel is about. That's not what this video is about. We are here to talk Brandon Aiyuk. Now, I originally, when I made this channel, I had planned on waiting as long as I could before making a 49er video because I didn't want it to just be 49ers. I want to talk everything football, NFL, college, high school, interview who I could, and sprinkle in some 49er stuff there. And I only made it to video 2 before I started talking about the 49ers. Can't help it. And this has been on my mind all offseason. I'm not saying anything new, not really. I'm getting in here kind of late with the Aiyuk conversation, but that's what we do in the middle of July. We're about a week and a half until training camp starts. So I'm trying to get in before the final buzzer about this Aiyuk stuff. And hopefully I post this before anything actually happens. Here is how I see all of this breaking down. I'm going to give you my reasons why, okay? The truth is there is no real reason in my mind to extend him past the offer that is already on the table for him. Now, it's all kind of speculation. I've been piecing together just the same as all of you guys have. Okay, you're listening to Shefty, you're listening to Ian Rappaport, you're listening to, if you're plugged into the Niners network and kind of their media team, you're listening to Mayoko, you're listening to Mike Silver. And Mike Silver is the one who reported Aiyuk has a $26 million average salary on the year, or excuse me, a $26 million average salary per year deal. We don't know exactly the length, probably 4 years. We don't know the guaranteed money offers, but let's just assume that report is accurate, okay? It feels like to me the 49ers realize this, okay? They have decided, they've drawn a line in the sand, and they have said, listen, if you want to make more money this year and you want to sign a deal this year, and that's that important to you, great. You can do it at $26 million a year at whatever guarantees. Again, we're not sure about the specifics there, okay? And Aiyuk is clearly playing hardball, which I don't blame him. This is not a knock Brandon Aiyuk video. This is business, so I'm not knocking either side. I'm just trying to piece together what's really going on and how the 49ers front office and John Lynch is thinking. And I've concluded, okay, that this is what they're thinking. They've said, look, if you want to get paid more this year than the $14 million you're due, you can sign right here. We'll pay you $26 million a year for the next however many years. If that's not what you want, if you think you're worth more, then we are going to play you on your 5th-year option, and we will readdress this next season. And I think that's the right, not next season, next offseason. I think that is the right way to go, okay? I don't see any real reason to sign him early other than you don't want the man upset. I understand that. I get that. But the 49ers have given Brandon Aiyuk more money than he's ever had in his life. They're going to pay him $14 million a year. They didn't disrespect him with a $26 million a year offer. Again, we're just assuming that that report is correct. Okay? They cannot sacrifice things for the future just to appease one player. Okay? Not this player. I hate to say that. I love Aiyuk, but not this player. Okay? It makes no sense to me for them to cave and give him 30 million plus for a couple of reasons. One, the cap situation. Got my notes here, by the way. One of the comments I had from last video was write some stuff down, and I agree because I forgot some stuff last video, so here we go. Point number 1 that I wrote, cap is probably going to go up next year. It's been going up every year. If you don't feel comfortable giving him $30 million a year right now, maybe you will next offseason. You got to pay Brock Purdy, but you can't pay him until next offseason, and maybe it's just better to wait until you know what that cap situation's like, what that cap number is at before you start handing out money to Aiyuk when technically you don't have to pay him yet. You don't. So I think that's one. I think another one is another reason is maybe you see what you've got in Ricky Pearsall and Jacob Cowing. Maybe you look and see what Ronnie Bell could be. I think these are valid things you could say. What if one of them just really develops? What if Pearsall comes in and is just like rookie of the year, offensive rookie of the year, or enough to show you like in Debo's rookie year and Ayuk's rookie year, both of them, you could tell they were going to be dudes. What if Ricky Pearsall shows that? What if all of a sudden you're like, oh, we totally can rely on this dude. He's had tons of reps in college. He came in. He's a total pro. He fits in culture-wise. Like, now the equation changes. And those are tough business decisions to have, but it's the 49ers' job. The front office, it is their job to handle these things rationally, to look at everything from a wide perspective. Okay, don't be so narrowed in on one specific issue. Take it as a whole and make the best decision for the franchise. Okay, that is why, by the way, they've had so much success since Shanahan and Lynch have taken over. Yes, naysayers, I get it. They have not won the Super Bowl. I get it. But I can think of probably 25 other fan bases that would swap places immediately to have the success that the Niners have had since 2019, basically. Okay, and they've done that by making good, rational decisions. Haven't been perfect. I'm not saying they've been perfect, but they've had a thought process and a way of doing things that is unemotional, logical, and has paid dividends for them. And I don't see them changing that here. Speaking of being emotional, you know what you get when you're emotional? You get Daniel Jones on a $40 million a year contract. And now, as you've watched on Hard Knocks episode 1 and 2 with the Giants, okay, you've seen they couldn't bring back Saquon. He puts it on the Daniel Jones thing. I'm not real sure that I'm super on board with their GM and his thought process, but he brings up that, hey, we can't. You didn't pay Daniel Jones $40 million a year to hand off to a $12 million running back. Well, guess what? Daniel Jones ain't worth $40 million a year. And you made an emotional decision because the Giants won a lot of games that year and they won a playoff game, which is great. But nobody in their right mind felt like, oh, the Giants are where they are because of Daniel Jones' season. He threw like 15 touchdowns that year. Just like, I'm happy for the guy. I'm happy he won a playoff game. But that was the most knee-jerk emotional reaction. Like, oh, maybe we found our guy. We're going to keep rolling. When I bet you a lot of people on that coaching staff, they were probably shaking their head, knowing exactly what Daniel Jones is. I mean, shoot, even when he's talking, gosh, is his name Joe Shane? I think it's Joe Shane. When he is talking, okay, and to his scouts, and they're talking about finding out what Daniel Jones is, you can see the look in his scouts' eyes. You can just see it. Most of them are like, I hope I'm wrong, but I already know what Daniel Jones is. You can see it, and it's because of an emotional decision that they made. I'm sure they felt the pressure because they had all this success, felt like they needed to pay him. You also get that Zeke contract from a few years ago. Okay, Jerry Jones feels like a real emotional decision that was less than ideal. It hasn't like put them back like the Daniel Jones contract has for the Giants. But you get bad contracts when you have coaches and GMs reacting emotionally. okay? So I think that they are doing a good job keeping the emotion out of it and just going to play it out. It's really in Aiyuk's hands. It's in Aiyuk's hands of what is going to happen, okay? He shouldn't feel disrespected. I don't think he said on the Pivot podcast, he's taking it personal. Like, man, I don't know. They're paying you a ton of money. I'm not here to tell you not to get as much money as you can, but it's business. You should have seen how these previous contracts with Debo, with Aiyuk, excuse me, not Aiyuk, of course Aiyuk. Man, I'm sounding like Joe Biden. Can't tell what his name. The president of Ukraine is Putin. With Debo, with Fred Warner, with George Kittle, they slow play everything. They are not going to come in and give you this huge freaking contract right off the bat. He should have known that. He should have known that. And it doesn't even bother me the games he's playing. It doesn't bother me that he's putting stuff on social media, talking to Jaden Daniels. Like that doesn't bother me. Like that's a play. That's like all he has right now because really the Niners have all the leverage. So like fine, that doesn't bother me. But if truly in his heart, like he is feeling some kind of way and he's got his feelings hurt, like come on, man. It's the NFL. It's just the NFL. You got tons of stars on your team. They've got to manage the cap somehow. And they're not trying to disrespect you, but they're just trying to get the most fair value that they can. You're trying to get the most value you can. They're trying to get the best bargain that they can. The last thing I want to say in terms of Brandon Aiyuk, and I feel like this is going to ruffle some feathers, okay? All I've heard over the course of this season is how much the Shanahan system elevates Brock Purdy, how Brock Purdy isn't that good, and it's Shanahan's system along with the weapons and everything, okay? I just want to spin something. I want to throw something out there. Okay, you throw it right back if you don't like it. Tell me in the comments. Say, dude, you're way off. That's fine. Again, I promise I will read all the comments. Any comment posted to my page, I will read it. You will get your time to shine, and we'll talk about it. Okay. I would argue that a receiver, their value goes up even more in Kyle Shanahan's system than a quarterback's. Okay. I think you want to talk about how easy it is to play quarterback in Kyle Shanahan's system, which we've seen it's not. He elevates people's play, but I think it's hard. It's far from an easy system. I don't know if that makes sense to y'all, but that's how I see it. But Aiyuk, a receiver in Shanahan's system, like guys, a receiver, he's got to get off his press release. Okay, he's got to be able to get off the defender, get off the line. He's got to run his route. But then half the time, like when I'm imagining like Brandon Aiyuk highlight plays in my brain right now, I am imagining he's open by 20 yards. 20 yards, 15 yards. He catches it and gets another 20 yards. He is wide open by just running his route. Not really doing anything great. Not that he doesn't run good routes, but he didn't get open by 20 yards because he ran an amazing route. Most of those highlights of Aiyuk running filthy routes is like in the red zone, and props to him, like that's amazing. But I'm just talking about the overall production. Like Shanahan is scheming him wide freaking open, okay? And I think that applies more to receivers than it does to quarterbacks. Because a quarterback, like maybe you don't know, man, this light's been off this whole time. I'm gonna turn it on, see if that makes a difference. I've coached. I'm not saying I'm a great coach. Okay, but I live in Texas. I've coached some ball for the last 4 years. I just kind of got out of it. I made a career change so I could spend more time with my family. But I was coaching some high school ball up here in Texas. So I've been around it. I'm not saying I'm the best coach, but I've been in the know, okay? And there is so much that goes into playing quarterback than you could even know. Like I could sit here and tell you all the things that goes into playing quarterback, and you still wouldn't get it unless you're sitting in practice, you're sitting in those film rooms and coaches meetings and dissecting exactly what the quarterback's got to do on every play. Like it's really hard to grasp. And if you haven't coached, it's not your fault if you don't understand that. I'm trying to let you know. I'm just trying to help you understand. It is crazy difficult. And that's at the high school level that we were coaching at. Now here in Texas, it's big time. It's basically college football. But anyway, that's a different story. So you can tell me all you want that Brock is thrown to these guys wide open. They are open, but everything that Brock had to do from pre-snap to post-snap to get the ball from the time they break the huddle to the time the ball lands in the receiver's hands, Brock has had to make like 500 decisions in milliseconds, okay? So I understand your job is easier when the receiver is open, but he is an elite. We've heard this. I didn't come up with this. An elite processor, an elite mind. Okay, he gets it. He gets it. He prepares for it, and he's got the physical talent to back it up. Okay, I'm saying as a receiver, that it's still difficult, but there's less you have to do. So I'm just trying to kind of make the argument, and this is probably what the 49ers are thinking in their minds. They might not say this verbally to Aiyuk. I wouldn't say it verbally to him, but they're probably thinking like, man, like, I don't know. I know that Aiyuk is really good. He's really good. But Kyle's sitting there in his office thinking, could I take a lesser receiver and get similar production? Maybe not 1,300 yards, but could I get 1,000 yards out of a Ricky Pearsall if I gave him the reps? Could I get 1,000 yards if I don't, what are some of these trades? We've talked about Cortland Sutton. None of these are going to happen, but like a Cortland Sutton trade, a Jahan Dotson, who had a pretty bad year in Washington, but I don't even know. A Brandon Cooks. I was arguing with my coworker today about what the value would be if the Niners traded Aiyuk to the Cowboys, and he said he'd give us Brandon Cooks and a third-round pick. And I told him no. But I was thinking Brandon Cooks and Kyle Shanahan's offense, like probably not the worst thing you've ever seen. Brandon Cooks has been a good receiver in this league. And if he's getting wide open like Aiyuk does, like I think he could have 1,000 yards. Like that's not out of the realm of possibility, is what I'm saying. And so that is why they're having this hang up. That's why they're having this hang up, is because they're trying to figure out what his value actually is, because we know Kyle Shanahan's a wizard. Okay, I just beat that to death. So they're gonna let him play out on his 5th-year option. I'd be shocked unless Aiyuk caves. Unless Aiyuk's like, man, I'd rather have 26 a year than 14 next year. Let's get this thing done. I can't imagine a world where the Niners get to 30 this offseason. Next offseason, maybe. If Aiyuk gets for 1,500 yards and 12 touchdowns this season and the cap goes up a lot, they'll probably find a way. They'll probably find a way to give him $30 million a year, because it'll be probably the same value. Like inflation, baby. It's crazy. Your $30 million next year is probably going to be equivalent of what $26 million is this year, and it's probably the smart approach, guys. Like I know a lot of 49er fans just want him to pay the money, pay the man, but like it's just not what's in the best interest. I don't think that's what's the best interest of the 49ers. Okay, you're also, one other thing I forgot to mention. Good thing I got my notes here. I just saw it. Is Debo. Like I think you're going to get a real sense of Debo Samuel this year. I thought he had a great year last year. I was like listening to stuff this past month on the good old YouTube and hearing people talk about how Debo had a down year, and I don't remember Debo having a down year. Maybe statistically it wasn't great. He's never going to do what he did in 2021 again, but Debo had some huge plays in some big moments. Obviously the Eagles game stands out. Okay. He played well in a bunch of other games. Like I'm thinking Cardinals scoring touchdown, Rams, he always is killing the Rams. The Seahawks scored a couple touchdowns. Like the dude had good plays in huge moments, and you're going to get a sense of what Debo is. And maybe that's part of this equation. Everyone's thinking we're going to sell off Debo after this year, which could be the case, but I don't think the front office has made that a foregone conclusion. I think that they want to evaluate this year. Does Debo look like he's losing a step, or does he not? Does he look like the same old Debo, and can we ride him out a little longer? Because that's going to affect what they're doing. If Debo looks like he's lost a step, then it's easy to pay Aiyuk $30 million a year, because you know you're going to offload Debo. I want to say one more thing about Debo too. I know it's an Aiyuk video, but I'm going to say one more thing about Debo. Guys, I know you're all watching the receiver documentary, Netflix receiver, and covering Debo Samuel, George Kittle, and some others. Guys, Debo Samuel is the heartbeat of the team. And I've been saying that for a couple years now, ever since 2021. He is the absolute heartbeat. And it doesn't mean he's the best player on the team. Heck, he's not even the best player on offense. We know CMC, George Kittle, George Kittle and Trent Williams, to me, they're undervalued, especially George, but whatever. But Debo's the heartbeat, meaning no one gets people's optimism and their emotions and just freaking fired up like a Debo Samuel big play. I don't care who it is. Debo is the heartbeat, and he has done it since he's come into the league, since he's joined this team. He is the one that gets it going. When there needs to be a play made, he's the one who makes it. And I think he's incredible, and I think it would be a huge mistake to offload him, because he brings more than just the field. Like, he is the heartbeat. It's the best way I can describe it. Now, if you get out there this year and he's lost a step, then fine. You got to do what you got to do, and Debo will understand that. It feels like Debo's matured the last couple years since he signed that contract. Actually, if I'm reading between the lines, just his body language, the way he speaks, things he's commented on the Aiyuk situation, like he sounds like he's grown up a little bit. Probably helps when one of your best friends is Trent Williams. Excuse me. So that's what I think. I think they're going to sit back. They're going to slow play it. 5th-year option. We will address this next year if you don't want to sign our deal right now. But here's the one thing that they need to make sure. This is the one proactive thing the 49ers need to do. Maybe they've done it. We don't know. I'm just an outside observer. They need to go to Aiyuk. If this is the firm, like, final deal that they're going to offer him in 2024, they need to, if Aiyuk has said, look, I'm not signing that, they need to tell Aiyuk, and they need to say, look, that's okay, but you are playing on the 5th-year option then. You need to be in camp. Holding out is not going to change this, and we will address this next year. They need to get that message across to him and say, listen, if you want to earn that $30 million a year contract that you're hoping for, then the best thing you can do is show up to camp, because you're not getting a different offer. We've already made that decision. You can sign this one or you can play on the 5th-year option. But if you're going to be missing camp, it's going to affect you in the season. And guys, that is my fear. My fear is that Aiyuk is going to miss a ton of time in camp, and it will affect him, just like it affected Deebo Samuel when he sat out, and he admitted that. Just like Nick Bosa, who admitted it. Now, Nick's was way longer, okay? Deebo didn't even miss that much time, but it affected him. These contract negotiations affected him. Okay, you could argue it's going to affect Aiyuk anyway. Okay, and if it's going to affect him anyway, then don't pay him. Don't pay him emotionally because you're scared he's not going to be in camp. He's going to come to camp. Okay, the hope and the goal is that he shows up on July 23rd. Okay, which is when the vets report. The rookies are before that. Okay, you need to reach out to him, have a real conversation, say we are open to paying you $30 million a year if that's what you're asking for next offseason. But right now we have a Super Bowl to win. I need you in camp. You can hold out all you want. We're not budging on this right now. This is something we will address afterward. That's what I would do if I was John Lynch. I'd sit him down, I'd buy him a dinner, and we'd hash this out for however long it took, and I would just tell him that. I would help him understand. I'm not trying to be a jerk. This is just the stance. This is the company policy as of right now. When the cap goes up and we just look at how this year plays out, then we will be open to it. But as of right now, we are not moving on that stance. That's what I would say. Okay? And I think they need to do that. They need him in camp because missing time, it's going to affect you. Even if it's just a week or two, it's going to affect you. Lastly, okay, on my last thing of notes, I hear a lot of people talking about, I hear fan bases, like I'm not the only one, you guys know. You're hearing these Steelers fans and these Commander fans. They're talking about Aiyuk trade, and they're putting out Aiyuk trades out into the atmosphere, hoping that they come true and they want them. First off, Steeler fans, man, you do not want to make this trade, okay? Aiyuk is great, but if you traded for Aiyuk, okay, first off, you're gonna pay him. You're gonna pay him all this money, and you don't have a good quarterback to throw to him. You don't, okay? I know most of you Steeler fans probably don't believe in Russ, as you shouldn't. I don't believe in him either, okay? You still have hope for Justin Fields. That's great. I'm not making a big move for a wide receiver. Aiyuk is not going to make Justin Fields better. He is not going to make Russell Wilson better. Not enough to put you guys over the hump. Okay, so that doesn't make any sense to me. Commanders fans, it makes more sense for you guys. Jaden Daniels, the connection with Aiyuk, pretty incredible. You guys have a talented team. I really thought you guys had one of the more talented teams. Not one of the more talented teams in the NFL. But as far as like teams that didn't make the playoffs, you guys had one of the most talented teams. You just had Ron Rivera quarterback. Even Sam Howell wasn't bad. Man, I liked Sam Howell he was on my fantasy team for a bit. He was helping me get by there for a few weeks. Like, you guys were just a train wreck on the offensive line. I had no belief in Ron Rivera. Dan Quinn, Cliff Kingsbury, Jane Daniels, you got Scary Terry, okay? Brian Robinson at running back. Like, you have some nice pieces. And if you traded for Aiyuk, like, that would make sense from a football standpoint. But here's what I'm going to say to you, Steelers fans, Commanders fans, and any other fans that are hoping you're going to trade for Aiyuk. If a trade happens right now, before the season, before the 2024 season, you are not going to be happy. Whatever the details come out about that trade, you will not be happy. The Niners have already proven they are not trading him for anything less than King's ransom, essentially. A first-round pick would do it. I'm assuming you guys won't like that. And I'm assuming the Niners, like at this point, a first-round pick might not even do it just because it doesn't help them in 2024. Okay, I don't know. Like maybe they would give in and say, yeah, I want two firsts next year. But that deal would have made way more sense before the draft because then you have that extra pick. That rookie can come help you in 2024. Now a first round pick doesn't help you till after the season. So my guess is you'd have to pay a pick, like a second round pick, and an impact player or something like that to really get the deal done, to really pry away Aiyuk. And I can't imagine Commanders fans, Steelers fans, like you guys are not going to be happy whoever you have to give back. Commander fans, Jonathan Allen, Terry McLaurin. There's no way you guys would give us Terry McLaurin, but I'm just it would take a player like that to convince Lynch and the Niners, which is why I think the trade is the trade talk is moot at this point because no team is going to give up what it would take at this point. Now in next year, next offseason, I think it's very much on the table that Aiyuk gets traded, but we'll worry about that at another time. But the point of that is, guys, you're not going to be happy if a trade happens. You will be upset with the front office. I guarantee it. You'll be upset with your team's front office because you traded way more than you think he's worth. Plus, you got to pay him, and ultimately, like you're probably not net positive for the 2024 season. So that is what I have for you in this video tonight. Sorry about my Joe Biden impression. That was really bad, but let's be real. It wasn't the worst thing you've ever seen. Okay. Thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. Like, subscribe to my channel. Please help me reach this goal of just being a full-time content creator, YouTuber. Okay, all you Gen Z people. Okay, help me out. Okay, it just takes one click. It doesn't cost you any money. Just please one time, please. It would mean so much to me. Help me feed my family. I got 3 kids. Help me out. See you next time.